Hello everybody, here we are today doing our Western Conference Final preview between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. So before we get started with that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So before we start talking about that, we do have to talk about how exactly these teams got here. We got here with the Dallas Stars claiming the top spot in the Western Conference, and they beat the defending champions, the Vegas Golden Knights, in 7 games in the first round before disposing of the Colorado Avalanche in 6 games in the second round. As for the Edmonton Oilers, they ended up claiming second in the Pacific, and then in the first round they beat the Los Angeles Kings for a third straight time in the first round as they dispose of them in 5 games before taking on the Vancouver Canucks, Pacific Division winners, and beating them in a full 7-game series. So with that kind of being put out of the way, what are some storylines to watch out for in this postseason series? Well, the first one is, can Darnell Nurse have a good series? It wasn't that long ago that on this channel we ended up putting out a video talking about the extension for Nurse as he signs an 8-year deal for pretty close to $75 million. However, things have not gone incredibly well in that time, as he has 2 points in 12 playoff games. Now, I know that his goals for percentage is not going to look incredible compared to a guy like Evan Bouchard, who's seeing a lot of power play minutes, but the 29-year-old is going to have to step up. I know too, people may say, oh, his PK numbers are dragging things down. Not necessarily, as in general things aren't looking great, as he is being outscored 17-8 when he's out there on the ice. His 5-on-5 numbers don't look incredible, as he has the highest shots against per 60 out of all Edmonton defensemen. And like we talked about a little bit earlier, he only has 2 points in 12 games, is goalless with over 20 shots, and is just trying to figure out how exactly he fits into this lineup and contributes to making them a team capable of making it to the Stanley Cup Final. And the good thing for Nurse is the fact that he's been able to block a lot of shots, actually leads the team, and is not taking a lot of penalties. He's just taken 2 in the playoffs so far. And I know I talked about during the Florida-New York series preview how Adam Fox was a top-paid defenseman and he needs to perform like a top-paid defenseman. Nurse, it's not necessarily the case, as they just need him to play well. And I really do hate to say that, as he is getting paid a lot of money, but clearly he's not going to get a lot of time on the man advantage. And PK is going to be difficult, but if he can go out there and just deal with the situation when they're on a penalty kill, block a lot of shots, just limit chances, and keep this PK percentage for the team where it's at, where it's best in the playoffs right now, that'll be huge, and get better at 5-on-5. If the chances are about 50-50 when he's out there, that would be great. And if he could get some offense going, that would be incredible too. Because again, thinking about all this, it comes down to being a good guy on the PK, being able to have the chances at 5-on-5 stay relatively even, and if you are able to get your points per game up just a little bit, going to be big. I hate to bring this up too, but out of the 21 defensemen or the 21 pairings in the playoffs that have played 100 minutes together, Nurse and CC paired together are dead last for goals for percentage, basically meaning that when they go out there and play together, things don't go particularly well, and Edmonton is going to need these guys to play well because they are going to play a lot of minutes for them. Darnell Nurse paid a lot of money. He's going to have to step up one way or the other. Now, the second talking point is whether or not Stuart Skinner is going to be able to lock in. Stuart Skinner is part of this Edmonton side that nearly won 50 games, but what's weird is looking at the playoffs, he has a 7-3 record in 10 games, but his save percentage in that time is .881. He has 4 games where his save percentage drops below .850, and he has 4 games where the other team has scored 4 goals or more against him, basically meaning that 40% of the time that Edmonton's out there, they're going to have to score 5 or 6 goals to even try to win the game. That is a huge concern, especially because Edmonton's defensive numbers look really good compared to what you're seeing with Stuart. They are average to a little bit above average in certain categories during the playoffs. And if he is just going to be cold, they're stuck in a spot wondering how exactly they're going to advance, because he's kind of the guy. Now, Calvin Pickard could be somebody to go to in the playoffs, as he has a couple games of playoff experience during this run. He's relatively inexperienced in terms of NHL games played, but has a .915 save percentage in this small sample size during this playoff appearance. And I'm kind of the opinion that if you can get him out there, if Stuart is starting off a series slow, that's the way to go. I don't really mind stepping on toes this late in the playoffs because it's about winning a championship and not making people happy or content about where they are. I know Stuart is probably well aware it is about the greater good, and if he has to ride the bench, if he is struggling, that he's probably going to have to just do, because this is, again, about winning a championship. It's bigger than you. So that is interesting. Now, if things go and they click for Stuart, then this is going to be huge, as he had a point where he won 12 games in a row, back in mid-December into mid-January. He had a .950 save percentage in that time and had just 17 goals allowed during that run. So he was able to get hot longer than you would need to in a postseason series. So if he's able to lock in, and again, be a sub-2 goals against average guy, they're going to be in a great spot. So Edmonton fans are going to be looking for the missing Stewart that was there from the middle part of December into the middle part of January as they are trying to make it to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2006. Kind of would be nice to have your starter be able to get you there. Now the final talking point is, can some of Dallas's goal scorers break out a little bit? So during the course of the regular season, the Dallas Stars had the 4th highest goals for per 60 in the league, and they were able to score a ton off that, as you can see. Now they only had 2 players score 30 or more goals, but it was distributed relatively even from 8 players scoring 20 goals during the season. And during the playoffs, you thought maybe anybody can go out there and break out, but you're looking at some names where they kind of seem stuck so far through the first 2 rounds, and they're trying to get on a heater. And a couple of names that come to mind are Matt Duchene, Roope Hintz, Jason Robertson, and Joe Pavelski. I flipped that around a little bit, was trying to do it alphabetical, but looking at these guys, they have a combined 8 goals through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, with Jason Robertson leading the way. They have a combined shooting percentage of 10.5% during that run, which is not terrible, but out of all this, realizing Robertson has the most goals with 3, a little bit worrying. Now, all these guys are proven goal scorers in the league, but I would say out of all this, you wouldn't expect maybe Duchene, and you probably wouldn't expect Pavelski to carry the boat a little bit more. It'd be more of the younger guys of Hintz and Robertson. Robertson is a guy that had back-to-back 40-goal seasons. This year tipped down a little bit, but if he can take over and have a good series where maybe he has 3, 4, 5 goals, that would be huge in terms of getting them back to the Stanley Cup Final. And as for Roope Hintz, he has got 3 seasons with 30 goals or more, and I know that there's a little bit of concern about what his availability will be for the series. I do imagine at some point he'll come back for the series if he misses the early part. That is not necessarily going to be a problem unless they go down, 0-2, something like that. But my mindset is more, if these guys are able to get some timely goals and contribute a little bit more, then it's probably Dallas instead of Edmonton headed to the Stanley Cup Final. So overall, my thoughts for this series is that you have 2 teams that have gone on deep runs in the playoffs before, and you're seeing a matchup where Edmonton probably has the edge in star power, but don't take this for granted here, as the Dallas Stars have some stars on their roster, and that is not pun intended. There are very, very good players on this team, as they have proven that over the course of the regular season, and are back to the Western Conference Final for a 3rd time in 5 years. I do think that the Stars have a little bit of an edge in net, as Ottinger is probably a little bit more proven than Stuart Skinner at the moment. And if you take anything into account in terms of the regular season series, the Stars actually have the edge there, 2-1 out of the 3 games they played. So if you're a fan of that, then you would maybe be thinking Dallas. So with that all being said, who am I going to be picking for this series? I'm going to be picking the Dallas Stars in 6 games. I was going to say 7. I'm not really sure where to go with this, as I think that this could go either way in this series. But if I'm being honest here, I see a world where McDavid and Draisaitl could still go off. But like we've seen before, back in 2022 against the Colorado Avalanche, they were just a better team, and they were able to have a good series, but the other team ended up going on and advancing. That's kind of where I'm at in the moment. Now, I do think one thing that could go out here is the fact that the Stars maybe have a really good power play that cools off during this round, with Edmonton's PK being really good, and then Edmonton's power play taking advantage of Dallas. Maybe things level out at 5-on-5 or even strength, and that is where Edmonton can kind of swoop in and end up winning the series if they're able to dominate the special teams battle. So if Dallas ends up winning this, they will go back to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2020, and like we already talked about, for the Oilers it'd be the first time since 2006. But anyway, now that I've talked about all this, who do you think will end up winning this series and in how many games? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, I do apologize trying to talk a little bit louder than normal as the neighbor is mowing. But anyway, leave your thoughts again down below in the comments. Everybody, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night, and you love hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.